Dear audience, I welcome you all to the second part of our moral talk show. In our quest to explore more about populism, we are joined by Asabar Tawheed, who is a final year student in the School of Politics and International Relations, Qaid Azam University, Islamabad. Asawir is of the view that there is no such phenomenon as populism present in Pakistan and that it is a foreign concept which is not related to or compatible with the socio-political realities of Pakistan. So let us find out the reasons behind her contentions. Welcome, Asawir. Asawir, what makes you think that populism is not present in Pakistan?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Nayab. To answer that question, it is absolutely imperative that we understand the definition of populism, if there is one. Populism, in a broad manner, divides the society into two groups of people, an us and a them. According to Cass Mudd, populism divides the society into two groups of people that are both antagonistic yet homogeneous. That is, the corrupt elite and the pure people. In Pakistan, however, the ideation or the boundaries of the two are blurred. People tend to side with those who say the right things, those who say what they want to hear. For instance, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto sloganeered for Roti Kapda Makan for the downtrodden. He gained popular support, was voted into power, and then he strengthened feudalism within the state instead. Despite that, their party has been voted into power on multiple occasions. Similarly, a narrative did rounds during the 2013 elections which stated that PMLN was said to have bought their votes with plates of food. So the absence of rationale, Nayab, that I think is needed to think beyond oneself in settings of this sort has subjected the fate of Pakistan to popular politics as opposed to populist politics.
Do you think that holds true for our present government, however?
Now, just the aforementioned division of society into the pure people and the corrupt elite, as postulated by Cass Mudd, can be used to argue in favor of the motion at hand today. But there is more to populism than that. It's not an easy black and white, especially in the case of Pakistan. I do think it holds true for our present government as well. For instance, Prime Minister Imran Khan's ousting the corrupt narrative has gained prominence, as has his claim that he works and speaks for the weaker class, the pure people, the people of the state that have been marginalized at the hands of the corrupt elite. Ever since coming into power, according to him, the baseline of his politics and national policies has been working towards aiding the weaker class in acquiring an elevated status in the societal fabric. But this very notion comes into question when his policies pertaining to the business community are taken into account. For instance, his abolishment of certain taxes for the business community to prosper. This thereby creates a societal divide and derails Imran Khan from his for the people viewpoint. This rhetoric can then be understood under the pretext of popularism as opposed to populism. In addition to the narrative of ousting the corrupt, what has tipped the balance in Prime Minister Imran Khan's favor has been the charisma or the popularity attached to his person from his days in the Pakistani cricket team, which is something he also makes mention of himself quite often as a form of wordplay to continually appeal to the masses.
What does popularism denote?
Populism is a political doctrine conceived by Don Luigi Sturzo of the Italian Popular Party. It can best be understood in his own words. Popularism, Sturzo writes, is democratic and liberal because it takes its stand on civil and political liberties which it upholds as equal for all, without party monopolies or without persecution based on religion, race, or class. According to this philosophy, then, governments work towards formulating policies that are beneficial to all members of the society in an unbiased manner. Prime Minister Khan's policies pertaining to varying factions of the society fit in line with this notion then. For instance, his policies for the business community or his policies for the weaker class, just to name a few.
You just mentioned that there is more to populism. Could you please explain that?
Of course, according to a report published by Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, populism can be studied under or divided into three contextual viewpoints, namely cultural populism, socio-economic populism, and anti-establishment populism. Cultural populism emphasizes traditionalism in terms of law, religion, ethnicity, etc. For instance, referring to migrants as evil enemies, as Donald Trump does or did. Socioeconomic populism emphasizes the role of the capital owning class, the business community, in exploiting the working class. And lastly, anti establishment populism rails against the state's elite as being the prime enemy of the working class, of the weaker class.
And do you think none of those apply to Pakistan, especially our present government?
I do think none of those apply to our present government. For instance, if we take into account the cultural aspect of populism, Imran Khan himself has never taken up a narrative that pits Pakistanis against each other on religious grounds or ethnic grounds. Similarly, if we look into the anti-establishment aspect of populism, it does not hold true for Imran Khan or his party, since they have only ever spoken of predominantly the two parties that are now in opposition to Imran Khan, but not of another group of elite that exists within the state, the military. In fact, according to popular belief, it is the military that helped Imran Khan secure power. No, those do not apply to Pakistan, in my opinion. Moreover, what further quashes the notion of the existence of populism in Pakistan is the fact that a large number of the members of the governing party hail from parties Imran Khan, our Prime Minister, refers to as corrupt. This then, in its entirety, defeats the purpose of populism.
If it does not exist in Pakistan, can it emerge in future? Is Pakistani population vulnerable to populist rhetoric?
In my opinion, it cannot imagine the future either, since in 73 years of Pakistan's existence, Pakistanis have either opted for short-term benefits and have played right into the hands of the political elite for exploitation, as an example of manufactured will, or have been rather oblivious or passive towards the needs of the country, past casting their votes. Pakistan's population, in my opinion, then is not vulnerable to a populist rhetoric, because if it was, somebody from amongst them would rise to cater to the needs of the people, the pure people, the weaker class, the working class, as postulated prior, to elevate the status of the people. And yet, Pakistan has either elected time and again people from the political elite, or has given in voluntarily to the military that they still praise, with a very minute percentage of exceptions, which are not enough to suggest that the people of Pakistan or Pakistan in general is vulnerable to a populist rhetoric.
Thank you so much, Asagar, for your response. I hope the audience would find this discussion a very fruitful one. Populism does not exist in Pakistan, and that it is a foreign concept that has nothing to do with the socio-political realities of Pakistan was the argument Asagar has made in her discussion. She was also of the view that be it our present government or the previous one, their selling points was the tendency to bring into the equation the popular narrative as opposed to the populist ones. Since this is the narrative that sells the most, and the masses also like to follow the fancy ideals, she is of the view that populism would have no intrusion in the Pakistani politics in the near future. To learn more about populism and its presence in Pakistan in the contemporary times, we are joined by Mia Talha Zahid in the next part of the Model Talk Show. So I request you all to watch the third and the final part of the Model Talk Show. Thank you.